It's not often we can say on this show that we are speaking to a history maker, and today is one of those days that we can do that. We are speaking to a legend of the sport of swimming, the only medalist in the history of the country of Suriname, a gold and a bronze medalist. The first guest we've ever had on this show who has been on currency, I will say that, and also outside of his esteemed Olympic career, is set to return to the Olympics later this year as the head coach of the US men's swim team. There's so much to cover in an amazing career, and it's a pleasure to be joined by Anthony Nesty on the show today. Anthony, first of all, welcome off the podium.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's such an honor to chat with you because I'll quickly preface a lot of why we wanted to get you on the show. We recently covered the Pan Am Games, and we fell in love with Suriname. We were enamored by the athletes of Suriname, and we got sort of down a rabbit hole where we're kind of, learning a little bit about the country, obviously learned a lot about your achievements and everything along those lines. So it sort of opened that up for us to track you down and try and get you on this show because, got to say, we didn't know a lot about Suriname before the Pan Am. So thank you for joining us to help us get educated a little bit more on the great country of Suriname.
It's on the northeast corner of South America. It's used to be a Dutch colony. Became independent in '75, I believe. Obviously, it's a third world country, so things aren't the best. But the thing about Suriname is everybody knows each other and everybody enjoys life. That's probably best to describe Suriname.
That's the main thing with that. How does somebody then get into swimming in Suriname? Because if I'm not mistaken, the country, at least when you started, only had one 50-meter swimming pool. Is that correct?
Correct. I think we still just have one, but we have a bunch of 25-meter courses throughout the country. Not many, of course, but I think for a country such as Suriname, swimming was probably, I say this all the time, it's probably swimming in Suriname is probably one of the best run sports in the country. Obviously, soccer dominates, all the sports in Suriname, of course, in South America. But as far as, lessons program, age group swimming, high school swimming, and then veering off in the Caribbean, competing in the Caribbean, which I did all that. I think it's a very good starter program for kids who want to develop into that sport. But after a while, you kind of, after high school, it's very difficult to continue. I was fortunate enough to have the means to come to the States in 1985, 15 going on to 16. So I was pretty fortunate.
Did you dabble in many other sports outside of swimming, sort of before that progression came that you ultimately took on swimming?
Yeah, it's typical for the youth in Suriname. They play different sports. Of course, everybody plays soccer at one point. My high school had tournaments, different sports, soccer, volleyball, basketball. I kind of played all that through high school until I, when you become good at something you have to give up something. So I kind of, put all these other sports aside and just continue with swimming only.
You were born in Trinidad, I believe, but obviously moved to
Correct.
Suriname at a very young age. Is there much cricket played in sort of Suriname, given sort of the closeness to the Caribbean, or did that sort of come from the Trinidad roots that there was any cricket interest in the family?
No cricket at all. Obviously, the country's Guyana was. Obviously Guyana was a British colony, so they have cricket there. But it's if they play cricket, it's very small. I do think they play cricket, but not many people.
It's always fascinating to kind of that part of the world, because I think that obviously here in Australia we're exposed very much to cricket, and then when we play like the West Indies and everything, and realize all those sort of countries there, but obviously being so close to South America where it's all passionate on the football side of things, which, and I mean, I think we're seeing this year in America, the 2020 World Cup is being co-hosted, I believe, in the US and in the West Indies, so getting a bit more exposure, which we'll also see at the Olympics in LA in 2028 as well.
Well, I think, as you've been in this business for a long time, and sports that are attract viewers, I think it's beneficial for, any tournament to have, I mean, stuff that no one had heard of, and to make that sport popular, because in certain part of the world, like you said, cricket is the sport, or one of the most popular sports. So I get it. So
have to step foot in India only to realize that it's on a whole other level. Obviously, you made your Olympic debut in LA. What was the qualification process at that point? You were 15 when you went to the Los Angeles Olympics. So how did you qualify in that period of swimming to make an Olympic Games?
Well, I think at that point we kind of just. I didn't have an A cut, I can tell you that. But I think we were fortunate enough to get certain slots, like many countries do. And obviously we got one slot, I believe, one or two. And they chose me, and it was a good experience. Back then they didn't have semis. I believe I was 20 to 25. Somewhere in there, but it was a good experience for me. I think after the following year, I kind of left for the States. So it was a good introduction to high level performance, and a kid like me going to that meet, like I said, to get to that level, first of all, I'm way off, and I have to obviously change scenery as far as training and the environment is concerned. So,
what was the vibe like from your family, from your parents, as a young 15-year-old heading off to the US to an Olympic Games? I mean, were they excited? Were they nervous? I mean, what were their thoughts?
No, I mean, it's certainly exciting for them. Exciting for Suriname to have any athlete represent Suriname and go into a big. That's kind of, for swimming, that's it, right? That is the pinnacle of our sport, and taking part of it, and for me, like I said before, it was like the first step I took to witness it. At that point, you only read the Swimming World magazines that my dad subscribed to, and we get it every month. So, the swimmers that you saw in those magazines, all of a sudden, they're right next to you in the lane in the warm up, and you see them live. It was definitely eye opening. And for me, the thing I took from that meet, I had a long way to go, but I was determined to get there.
I believe the year before you competed in the Pan Am Games. Did that help sort of expose you to a multi-sport event and what to expect, and give you a bit of experience heading into the Olympics for the first time?
Yeah, I mean, every time you go to an international meet, obviously Pan Am's, you don't get the best athletes from the U.S., but for that games, you are getting the best. So it was obviously you take the sport step by step, and certainly going to the Pan Am was a challenge, but challenge that I knew I had to overcome going into the Olympics, and then hopefully after those games, I kind of knew if I wanted to get better in the sport, I couldn't stay in Suriname. I had to go to the States.
Which you did, and obviously in that period, through the training and sort of being exposed to to that part of the world and the swimming programs. I mean, was it an eye-opener to kind of just see what the US was doing, and how much did that help you in that period when you eventually went to your second Olympic Games?
Well, for me, the thing that struck me is just the pace. Because, we're kind of in our own bubble in Suriname, swimming at meets in the Caribbean. And yes, you go to the Pan Am Games, that's another level. But, at the Olympics is a whole nother level. And one where it was definitely eye-opening, one I wasn't ready for. And the most important thing for me is just to witness that firsthand, knowing what to expect if I ever get the chance again to compete at the Olympics.
Which, when that came to sort of working with US coaches, working with, the scholarship that you received and everything along those lines, were you just taking it on board knowing that you're going to take this to another Olympics? And were any of the coaches sort of looking at this being skeptical in a way that they didn't want to make you too good because you're competing for another country? You're not obviously American, and they were trying to make that a rival out of it?
No, I think, I'm kind of in the same position years later, right? Coaching athletes from different countries. I think you coach everybody the same. It's the sport of swimming is a small niche group, small niche family, and what we enjoy as coaches, what fans enjoy as coaches, what reporters enjoy about their sport is high performance, whether it's from Australia, Suriname, US, or whatever country it is. Obviously coming to the States, you definitely have a chip on your shoulder, and from my standpoint, because different environment, different culture. I didn't enjoy the winners and at bowls, obviously, because didn't have, that was non-existent in Suriname. But all, having said all that, I think I really enjoyed the competition of practice. Because get into a high school like that, there's so many good, talented athletes around you that, similar to college, that, you either go with the flow or you get left behind. So, and I think, obviously, I had, for me, I had to, number one, do my best. And because this is just one opportunity, and I had to seize that opportunity and do the best I can to get to the level that they were expecting of me, they being Suriname, and I expected of myself as well. So,
but before we get to Seoul, two things I just want to quickly touch on. Obviously, your speciality being butterfly. What was it about butterfly that you sort of took to more so than, say, the other strokes that led you to the success you had in that discipline?
I was very flexible. I had a pretty good kick. I think the timing of the stroke came pretty natural to me. So, at that time, I wish I had the underwaters, because in the 80s, all you did was push off the wall and go, right? Because at that time, no one was thinking of, hey, maybe you should take 8 to 10 kicks off the wall. Because you are using the strongest muscles in your body, and, that may help you. But at that point, the goal, for any athlete is to win the flag to flag, not like it is today, where you have to win that part of the race and also flag to wall, wall to flag. So it's kind of, obviously the start, same thing. No focus on that when I swam way back when, but obviously the sport has changed. And I think for me, my if the waters were there too. I think I would have been very good at it as well because my legs were. I mean, I had a good kick and good. I was flexible and I had a really good timing up the stroke. Hopefully that makes any sense.
I think I get the gist of it there, Anthony, for sure, absolutely. But it's obviously a progression through most sports, and on that level of it, sort of the coaching. What was coaching like in the 80s? I mean, compared to what you're doing now with your athletes, was there that standard around at that point, or has that developed to a much higher level now than what it used to be?
When we swam, late 80s, there was more of an aerobic-based sport. All the athletes were that's kind of all we did. Some programs ran higher yardage than others, but as far as the speed set that you give them, the threshold that you give them now, the race specific stuff that you give them, the quality sets that you give them, all that stuff is kind of back then it was just train, try to be strong with obviously the strength and condition is different too. Back then we were just doing the basic stuff that I do now. I'm 56. The typical curls, triceps, the bench press, squats. I mean, squats are still valuable today, but the weights, the snatches, the cleans that they do now, all that Olympic lifting that have gotten into our sport as far as strength and conditioning is concerned. That's a big difference to swimming late 80s, early 90s as to swimming now. And nutrition is a huge part as well. Obviously people take different supplements, multivitamins, creatine, I mean, stuff that's legal, of course. That was non-existent when I swam. So I think the athletes now compared to the athletes way back, when I swam, they have more resources and they take better care of their body because of all the resources and the studies that have shown if you do X, Y, and C, you get a better benefit at this stage and in your career in the swimming. Recovery is another huge thing that was non-existent when we swam. Ice bath, obviously massage was there, but utilizing all the the Normatex. I don't know if you're familiar with those devices that the athletes have available to them now. So a lot has changed, but it's. I mean, everything keeps evolving, and it's better for the athletes because they have more resources, more science behind and everything they do. Because the athletes these days, they want to know, why am I taking this? Why am I doing that? Why is it beneficial for me to take this and do this in the weight room? I do this in the pool. Why are we doing this at this certain times of the year? So
which is, I mean, obviously it's great for the development, and there's all these things that you can pinpoint the smallest detail to find an extra couple of tenths, no doubt, in a race. But do you sometimes just look at it, Anthony, and think, we just want to get in the pool and swim?
yeah. I mean, for sure. The bottom line is that's just get in the pool and get it done, right?
Yeah.
All the other. Sometimes I tell our kids, I'm gonna, they may have a test, so they may have to miss, weights or dry land. I was like, so what? You're a swimmer. You got your practice in today, so that's fine. I mean, go take your test.
Yeah.
So it's kind of part of the sport, right? Swimming is a huge part of it, but everything that tags along as far as strength and condition, nutrition, I think people take that serious too. But the bottom line is, like you said, sometimes it's, we're swimmers first and foremost.
Get and
And
swim.
you have to swim.
Yeah, exactly.
If you get your swim in,
yeah.
If you get your swim in, I mean, everything else is secondary.
Falls into place, and sort of you go with that
there.
Yeah. Going into Seoul, your second Olympics, with everything that you'd sort of gone through in that period to improve yourself, did you sort of go in knowing that you were within a shot of a medal? Was that kind of what you were targeting going into your second Olympics?
No, I mean, for that, the year before, I mean, I was kind of ranked top 8 in the world. So the goal is to go to a meet and try to make finals, because if you don't make finals, your chances, you have no shot of doing anything. So for me, it was first priority is make finals, and obviously I was third going. I mean, I was the third fastest qualifier in 100 fly, just going into finals. So, I mean, and at that point, for me anyway, just hold on to your spot, and you got a medal, which I was fine with.
Which, I mean, how is it then when you go into something like that? What's the pressure like coming back from Suriname? Like knowing that they obviously never won a medal at that point in the history of the Olympics is a real opportunity for this to happen. Was there much sort of going on back home to sort of, this whisper that this drought could be over, we could be winning our first ever medal through Anthony?
Well, I mean, for me, I never thought of it that way, but I'm sure people, who are students of the sport, of course, who study, rankings, and obviously with all the social media going on now, everybody knows what everybody is at any time or any week of the year, any month of the year, how fast they swim, how tired they are, for me there was no pressure. But when I was third going to the finals, that's where the pressure came on, because at that point you're like, this is real.
This is
you have an opportunity. You have an opportunity that no person in Suriname has ever been in, and no athlete of color has ever been in that spot either.
Yeah. Which it goes into all those history-making moments with it. I mean, the race itself, I mean, I watched it again before this interview, Anthony. It still just is an incredible race to watch. Is it something that you often will look back on and watch? Is it something, just you kind of like to reflect on, particularly those closing moments, and you're finishing over mat to touch the wall by 1/10 of a second?
No, it's a good moment for any athlete, because the race isn't over until the race is over, and sometimes I see it all the time at any level that you've coached, that people think they're under the flags and the wall is there, but it's still far away. And fatigue sets in too, so that kind of plays tricks on your mind as well. But repetition of doing things correct, and in my case, I did tons and tons of 50s, stroke count, coming off the wall, hitting the stroke count all the time. I used to repeat 28 lows, all the time in practice. And I believe I came in at 28 something. So, but for me, the most scary part of the race is the first 50, because I didn't have that speed like those other guys have. I was, more of my second half of the race is kind of my best part of my race. So for me, it was to just make sure I was not too far behind, because I knew those guys were going to blast it out.
Ultimately, the last part of it worked out.
Yeah.
When you touched the wall, what was the feeling before you turned around and looked at the clock? Did you have a feeling? Did you think that you'd medaled?
Yeah, for sure. Because people think you can't see the field and swimming, but but you can. I think I knew I was third at the 75, and then I think I think I saw the Brit that I was close to the Brit. I forgot his name, but
Andy Jamison.
Yeah. Andy Jameson. Yeah. I knew, but 10 meters out, I knew I was second. I could see, I could see I was second, so I was kind of, I was happy with being second, but obviously, but I mean, I knew I was, not first for sure. I knew I was either second or third. I knew I had second wrapped up, but yeah, Biondi thought he had first wrapped up for sure. But at that level, you don't know until you touch the wall. That everybody's touched the wall. So,
yeah. Which it's insane watching the coverage too, because I guess we're so used to now watching swimming, aren't we? And we see the graphics come up on screen, so we're watching it at home and immediately see it. Even watching that footage back then and sort of just watching your reaction, watching Matt's reaction, there's still kind of almost like this lull, and all of a sudden you react and Matt's reacting. Like it's fascinating to watch, and I can imagine your emotions when you realize you've got the gold must have just been insane.
Yeah. I mean, when I saw I won, I was like, okay, let's. I didn't know what to do. Actually, I tried to hop out of the pool, and they go, no, just use the side. But the best part is when I just got out of the pool. My dad was in the stand, so I watched him. He was pretty happy.
Fantastic. I can imagine. I mean, son's just won an Olympic gold medal, created a bit of history, first man of color in swimming to win it, first man from the nation to win it. I mean, all the things that you're doing. I love the interview. There was an interview you did directly on the pool deck with American television. And again, just so cool and calm and just like, yeah, I'm very happy. Like I just love your reaction to just everything in that moment. It's incredible.
Well, I mean, it's it's kind of who I am. It was I mean, I was pretty happy. Don't I mean, I'm very reserved in that department.
But that's fine. Like that's what I think what really appeals so much to you, Anthony, is just kind of that level and everything that has come with that, because obviously it brings that success, and obviously then going back to Suriname and everything that was kind of bestowed upon you there, and then leading into Barcelona where you back it up with the bronze, and you go 3 years undefeated in the 100-meter butterfly as well. So, I mean, obviously that gold kind of set on a bit of a momentum push for you going forward, winning a world championship gold in Australia, of course, too.
Yeah, in Perth. Yeah. I mean, it's like I said before, it's just the thing at our level is to maintain that level. But there's always new challengers, coming into the sport, because there's so many really good athletes, so many really good coaches, so many really good programs out there that they just develop athletes and all the disciplines of our sport. And but at our level is how do you maintain your focus? How do you maintain your effort? And how do you maintain the most important thing, your body too, so you could perform at that level. Obviously, back then it's a lot of things I could have done better for sure, eating, drinking wise as well, because it's we grew up at a different time, right?
Yeah.
It's what we did way back when. It's no way.
You probably don't tell your athletes what you did back then, Anthony, do you? You keep that a little bit quiet, like when they're on a strict diet.
I have meetings with our athletes all the time, and I was like, look, when I swam, it was different. That's the facts. And the thing that we got away way back when, it's unacceptable in our sport these days, because it's, there's so much these athletes have to cope with. Social media is a huge part of it.
Yeah.
And it's you just can't do the stuff that we used to do way back when. And now it's just got to really, you got to really focus on your attitude, your effort, and anything you do at the pool, away from the pool, because it's one bad thing, one bad sentence, one bad thing you do could just destroy you.
Which, on that, given the reaction you got when you went back to Suriname, how do you, had social media been around, do you think that would have been even more hectic given what you went home to?
Sure. Absolutely. Because, obviously when the meet was over, I had to come back and go to school, because life goes on, right? Yeah, you want to go medal.
You might have a shiny new necklace at school, but you've still got to go study, right?
You get back on the flight. You still have the classes still go on, but obviously, social media been around, it would have been 10 times worse.
Yeah.
As far as the publicity but the way Suriname reacted when I went home, it was probably similar if there was social media around, because it would have been the same stuff.
How, for someone who's so, sort of reserved, as you say, what's that like to all of a sudden have thousands of people showing up at the airport? You're on currency. You literally are on currency, Anthony. You've got stamps. You've got all these things after you. I mean, was it overwhelming?
Oh, for sure. It was overwhelming, because I just didn't know. All I knew, okay, you got to go home, you're going to meet the president, and all the big shots at that time back home, and I didn't think anything of it. And then you get home, and I mean, it was crazy. It was unbelievable. From the time I landed at the airport, there were people lined up from the streets all the way down to the national stadium. It was just nuts. It was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. But at that time, the country was going through so much. It's inflation, situations of the political environment. It was very difficult. Inflation was very high, so the recession was unbelievable to many. But it's kind of that little 53 seconds made everybody put everything aside, and really it was a joyous moment for them. Obviously for me as well, but for them being a Suriname, people who from Suriname, that was a moment they could really, really enjoy. Being who you are, where you are at that time. Doesn't matter if you have a penny or tens of millions of dollars. Everybody felt at one at that time, because somebody from all places, Suriname won a gold medal, which is in swimming, which swimming, at the Olympics is kind of our Super Bowl.
Fantastic. It's so great to sort of hear that. And then, you can always now look at the overall medal tally of the Olympic Games, and whenever you see Suriname with a gold and a bronze, that's you. They should just replace that with Anthony Nesty. Just have that there. You know how sometimes you see they put that if Michael Phelps was a nation, he'd be above so many countries. That's your name there. So just saying. IOC, if you're listening.
I'll tell you something neat. I went back to Korea during Thanksgiving, and there's a wall with all the medalists, and to see your name on that wall is probably it's pretty cool.
Fantastic.
Pretty cool to see too.
Yeah. I can definitely imagine with that. Sort of throughout, besides the competing side of things, we always like to ask our guests sort of just outside of the competition, the Olympic experiences through your 3 Olympics. Do you sort of soak up the village life, things like pin trading, like going to other sports, bumping shoulders with like the dream team in Barcelona? Were there's some memories across those 3 games that you sort of hold close to your heart as well?
No, for swimmers is because the meet's super intense, right? I mean, you train all the way up to that time. You have to meet, and those swimmers they when the meet's over, they go watch other events. That's kind of one thing, or they. I remember in Seoul. There's a thing, it's Itaewon, where you can go, where all the tourist attraction go. They eat. Korean food is fantastic. And then same thing in Barcelona. I really enjoy cooking, so I really enjoy food. And especially trying the street food in Korea. That was kind of one of my bucket list things to do, and the tapas in Barcelona, which is to die for, You did
go to 3 amazing Olympics, Anthony. I mean, LA, Seoul, and Barcelona, 3 very famous and popular Olympics. So, great ones to experience.
And in LA, I really, because having a awesome steak, that's kind of one of my first time I really had a steak of, come from Suriname. Most of we have beef, but not as good as the beef here, right?
Yeah.
So that was kind of my first thing, and then in Korea, just going to all those, those street vendors, eating their food, and Barcelona was just the tapas was just. I mean, I'm pretty sure you've done them all.
Yeah.
So
fantastic. Hearing that. Love hearing those sort of moments with that. One thing before we sort of touch on what you're up to now, and obviously leading into Paris. One unique aspect that I read about you, Anthony, is that obviously you were the flag bearer for Suriname in Seoul, but then you were the flag bearer for Suriname in 2008 in Beijing. How does that come about?
I don't know. I mean, it's they kind of, they asked me to, if I wanted to do it. And of course, I mean, it's kind of greatest honor to bestow on an athlete that a current athlete's competing at the meet is the Olympics itself, and a former athlete. So I mean, that was kind of a no-brainer. But that's kind of another thing too is the closing ceremonies. That's kind of pretty neat to see. For me, I never went to the opening ceremony because yes, I've been to other Olympics, but as a coach, you don't go to that because all you're focused on is the next day, which is the first day of the meet.
Yeah, you get up quite early after that. How late the opening ceremonies go, of course.
So that, I mean, obviously it's a unique moment and in history, right? Because it's every 4 years, and then every country is there at that bigger stage to show their athletes what they could do and how they can represent their countries, and the camaraderie of all the countries rubbing shoulders with each other, and it's kind of a cool thing to be a part of.
Which leads us obviously where we're at now, Anthony. Obviously, post your own swimming career, great deal of success in the collegiate system in the US, of course, and getting into coaching. And now we're months away from Paris. As I said at the top, you are the head coach for the men's team going in for Team USA. Was this always a goal to get into coaching, and sort of where does this stack up on the honours list to be the head coach of Team USA at an Olympic Games?
Well, when I graduated, obviously my dad goes, you're on your own, son. It's and then it's like, okay, what do I do? And I gave coaching a shot way back when, and kind of 1 year, then 2 years, then 3 years, and once you get, I was a head coach of a club team in Sarasota. I did that for 4 years, and then I got a call to come be the assistant here at UF in '98. Been here ever since as an assistant, associate, now the head coach for the men, and now head coach for both men and women. But University of Florida is one of the best public universities in the world. Some magazines ranks us as the top public university in the world. So academically, it's fantastic, and athletically, it's one of the Power 5 schools that usually have somebody winning a national champion in their sport every year in, year out, or they make it to the finals. And in our case, we're in the Southeastern Conference. We've won that several times in a row, both last year, men and women, and now we're 2 weeks out of the meet again. So that's kind of it's for me why I love coaching, because it's a grind for sure, because you started late September, right? And our one of the two biggest meets that we have is coming up as a conference meet, and then 3 to 4 weeks after that you have the national championship, NC2A. So it's a long process, but for me, the most enjoyable part of it is going to a meet like the Southeastern Conference and seeing your kids perform day in, day out at a really high level. Obviously, it's like I said before, it's challenging, it's long, and then you have to deal with sickness, you have to deal with injuries. Obviously, academics is a huge part of it too. So that's kind of a part you have as a coach. You have to navigate to that stuff too. But at some point, some athletes, you have to make changes to their practice. Because the bottom line is, some professors, this is where the test is offered. I'm sorry if you have some practice, but it's so a lot of things go into it, and then now in 2 weeks, you kind of, it's a nerve-wracking part of the year too. Because taper's preparation, taper, how you call it, it's no exact science, but it's more feel than anything. But
I can imagine you'd have a bit more sway though, Anthony. Can't you just pull out the old stars and stripes and be like, also head coach Team USA? I think swimming takes preference over the test.
No, I think first thing is first. I gotta take care of the Gators the next
Go
2
Gators.
weeks, and
Go Gators,
and February, and then March, and then after that, similar to Australia. I mean, the American kids, they have to get ready for their trials, which is and for us, we're running the Olympic schedule, so it's 9 days, and it's, I don't know if you've been to U.S. trials, which is an awesome show that they put
on the
on.
bucket list. It's on the bucket list.
Yeah, but it's for the athletes. It is intense. We talk all the time. It's the only meet in the world where you're upset if you get third.
Yeah.
Obviously in the freestyles, the 100 or 200, obviously they go to 6. So, but it's so brutal. I mean, you train all this time and you get third, and it's just you kind of feel for those athletes, but it's kind of part of the sport.
It is indeed. And obviously we know the rivalry between Australia and the US is obviously incredibly intense. But sort of before we talk about Paris, I mean, some of the athletes obviously that you're coaching, I mean, we know Katie's obviously under your wing at the moment, with Caleb as well, Bobby, Kieran. I mean, these names that are there as well. When you're, say, the coach of the men's team, obviously in Paris, you're obviously focused on the male athletes, but have you kind of got like an eye on Katie, given that you've sort of had her under your wing the last couple of years as well?
Yeah,
and
for
give her a few tips in between as well. Can you do that?
No, I mean, everybody kind of because for us, for me, there's several coaches who will be on staff who aren't on the staff yet. They're going to put both men and women on the team, so.
Kind of like a family, you're all sort of there.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of, first of all, we competed against each other at the collegiate level.
Yeah.
So, you kind of, just like I said, compete against each other. So we kind of know each other. And I mean, we go through most of the, the Tier Pro Series meets. We kind of go through the summer meets together. So you kind of have a good feel. I mean, it's a competitive, coaches are competitive because everybody wants their teams to do, to beat the snot out of each other. But at the end of the day, when when you're a staff of Olympics or Australia, the goal is us, right? Us meaning the U.S., how we can come together as a staff and as a team to get the best performances. Because at that point, you're not representing the Gators. You're representing the U.S., and it takes a little extra focus, effort on everybody's part to obviously, you have to hold yourself to a higher standard. I mean, which is part of what we do. But then again, that's kind of another step.
Yeah,
because you're representing the U.S. and you're representing 300+ million people, and we have to put our best foot forward. We got to make sure the athletes are ready to go, and obviously Australia is going to have not a great team, and it's I mean, obviously when the meet starts, I mean, obviously it's competitive, but at the end of the day, it's great to see good competitions because everybody enjoys those moments, and the athletes enjoy it, the coaches enjoy it, the fans enjoy it. So I mean, yes, you want to be the best, but at this level, you're going to win some, and you are going to lose some as well.
Which, as America, though, you're going to win more than you're going to lose. We understand that, of course. You can say it. I mean, there was a quote you had an interview with the New York Times, and they sort of asked you the question about what's the target. The men's team have won 8 gold at the last couple of Olympics, and you're straight away, I'm greedy. My message, we want 9. So I love that. I love that sort of quote. I mean, you sort of go into it, obviously, hoping for the best, but I mean, 9, 10, 12, win them all.
But as the leader of the the Gators and now the U.S. staff this summer, it's you have to be bold, and kids have to realize that you're confident in their abilities. The coaches are confident in their abilities. It's something we thrive on, and they need to know that we can do better. It's not arrogance. It's not being cocky or anything. It's just,
But that's what we love about America, Anthony. That's seriously like I'm wearing a US shirt right now. Like I love that confidence that comes with that, and it's just so part of what I picture an American to be, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
I mean, it is what we do. I mean, it's especially if you're coaching at a school like Florida. I mean, one, you have a target on your back, right? Because everybody in our conference, we've won it several years in a row, so you have a target on your back. But for me, as the head coach of both programs, you have to be confident in your athletes, knowing they're prepared. You have to be prepared that they can go and get the job done, no matter the circumstances. Like I said, it's you're going to win some, but you're also going to lose some as well, and that's kind of part of the sport.
And I'll politely, on behalf of the nation of Australia, ask that if you do lose some, please lose to Australia.
I respect all those Australian coaches, their teams that they put forth every year, and it's athletics, right? Sometimes you have really good years, sometimes you don't have any good years, and it's kind of part of the sport. But for me, going into Olympics, how can we get the athletes who are on the team performing at a level that when we come out of the meet, we will go, wow, we've done some incredible things with this group, with this staff for the U.S. So that's kind of the goal I have.
Well, it's one chance that I think Australia's always relishes at an Olympics every 4 years, because I feel it's kind of the one sport that as Australians, we feel we can beat the US. It's everything else we know we're not going to do it. Whereas swimming, we're like, hey, we've got a chance. We might do that. So I'll say that. Two things before I close this out. It's interesting when you talk about, obviously, that history that you brought to Suriname and everything in your career. This is a weird way I'm going to connect this to someone who obviously you look at as a great rival. Ariarne Titmus, obviously very proud of her in this country. I'm from the great state of Tasmania in Australia, and Ariarne is from Tasmania. No matter what people say, just because she trains in Queensland, she's from Tasmania. With her gold medals in Tokyo, she actually became the first ever individual Olympic gold medalist from my state. So after all these years in Australian Olympic glory, so I have this weird way of connecting that to your achievements, because obviously bringing great joy to Suriname for what you did. Ariarne brought great joy to the state of Tasmania. Sorry to bring that up when you're training Katie, but I just wanted to point that out as some sort of softener for Katie. If she didn't know that already, pass that on to her to let her know that, hey, Tasmania was very grateful that she got those individual gold medals.
Oh, it's like I said, it's athletics. There are always people that people never knew where they're at that point, and sometimes you see people just rise to the occasion. And obviously, there are a lot of athletes that do that year in, year out, and the summer's not going to be any different.
Exactly. Well, one last thing I'm going to end this on today, Anthony. Okay. Now, I don't know as a team if you already have a mascot, but I'd like to introduce you. We have a mascot here and off the podium. This is Chairy. He's a chair. He's a bit battered and bruised, as you can see. But if you need inspiration at all for Team USA, how do you think Chairy would go out there on the blocks to help your athletes, particularly the men, getting more than the 8 gold?
Well, all I can say is no matter the circumstances, if you have bumps or bruises, you can go there and perform at a really high level.
There you go. That's it. And he's already got the gold already. So if you win 8 and you need a 9th, you can still chair it.
That's the one.
There it is. There you go. Perfect. We're going to get some of these little cherries made. So we're happy to send you a couple out there to kind of have there out in the pool deck for you there in Paris. Go. Anthony, it has been an absolute honor to be able to sit here and chat with you, not obviously about your own career, but what to expect from Team USA and everything coming up to Paris. So I will say, best of luck going ahead. Not too much luck. Again, we want some luck for Australia, but we definitely appreciate your time here, and it's been an absolutely fascinating insight into yourself and your swimming career.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it, and have a great, good morning for you. So we're going in the afternoon here. But thanks for taking the time to chat. It was fantastic.